Hey guys, it's me, Katie Gorel, and I guess it's my voice reveal. But anyway, the, this is the results for the Google form that I made last week about what should the Air Kingdom's king be like, and this is for the novel that I'm currently working on. I know I haven't talked much about my novel to you guys besides like me talking about it with a few different people individually, but I thought this could be a good way to kind of get you guys more um in the know about it, I guess. So what my novel is basically about is that I had this idea once last year, just a random idea about like 4 different kingdoms, each inspired by the 4 elements, and I decided to like work with that more and make it into like a story for a novel. And it's about the main the main characters are some of the heirs from each of the kingdom. Not all of them are the crowned heirs, but they're still pretty important. And the plot is still a work in progress, but what happens is that there are problems in each of the 4 kingdoms, and the main characters flee their kingdoms, and they like all come together and decide to work together to solve their problems. And along the way, they also discover unexpected truths about the world that they didn't about stuff that they didn't know was going on. So most of the ruling monarchs, the kings and queens, I have some ideas for what they should look like, but there's one that was kind of struggling with the most, and that is the king for the Air Kingdom. I had some ideas, but not many good ideas I could form a concrete character in my head, if that makes sense. So I decided to create this form as a good way to help with that. I was gonna wait until I got at least 10 responses, but I've had this pull up for over a week, so I figured now is a good time to go over the responses. So alright, so the first question is, what should his hair color be? No, it can't be dark or really bold color, since the norm for citizens of the Air Kingdom is light colored hair. So for the Air Kingdom, some of the features I imagine them having is light colored, kind of like light colored hair, tan or like darker skin, kind of tall-ish and like slim body shapes, slanted eyes, and markings that would have some connection to like their element air. So like raindrop markings, or I don't know, like raindrop shaped markings, and also like maybe wispy wind kind of markings, if that makes sense. So the pull options are silver, white, and light blue. Now silver was because for the children, I imagine 2 of them to have silver-ish hair. 3 of them. White one had like 2 of them have kind of whitish hair along with silver, and then light blue because one of the middle child, Sky, she has light blue hair. And also the second oldest, Maya, she has silvery blue hair. So that's why I had these as options. So the winning result is white, which I could see that. The second one was silver, and then the last one was light blue. But it looks like we're going with white. Next question, which is eye color B? I only had two options in the poll, light brown and red. I would have added in blue because the youngest child, Zephyr, he has blue eyes, but I imagined the queen to have blue eyes, so I didn't add that in here. I put light brown and red because Sky has red eyes. Maya has light red/brown eyes, and then the oldest, Talia, has light brown eyes. But it looks like light brown one, and then there are two. There's a tie here for red, and then someone also suggested bronze, which I could kind of see that. It's like light brown with a little bit of gold in it, so I might think about that, but it looks like light brown is what we're going with here. Now, next question, what should his body type be? No, it can't be overly thick or chubby since most of the citizens are slim and lanky. I kind of already talked about that. So the options were tall and lean, lanky with some substance/sense of fullness, which is the one that won. For that one, like, what I meant by substance/sense of fullness, I meant like he's not overly skinny or thin, kind of like average shaped, but like tall and still kind of lean, if that makes sense. And then one person suggested for average, both height and body type wise, and no one suggested short and skinny. But looks like he's good, but tall and lean won, so looks like that's what we're going with. Next question, what should his hairstyle be? Some of these are kind of just the opposites to each other. For example, short and curly, and then long and curly. But I wanted to give some options there. Let's have short and straight and long and straight, or updo and held up, which didn't get any votes. But we have two ties in this one. The one with the most votes is long and curly and short and curly, and then short and straight, long and straight also won, or tied, not didn't win, but I could see these two. I'd have to think about which one I'll pick because the queen has long and kind of curly hair, so it could be like, and then uh, all the children have curly hair except Maya's is straight, so that's why I had straight as an option. So I'll think about it, which one I'll choose. My first idea was kind of that he would have kind of longish hair, so I might go with that one, but I don't know, I'll think about it some more. Alright, next question is, what should his color scheme be? And the options were white with gold accents, lighter shades of pink, lighter shades of blue, and then dark colors, which would make him stand out from the other citizens, since, like with their hair, I imagined the citizens would wear kind of like light and almost pure colored clothes, or at least like light and pure color for like their clothes and accessories, if that makes sense. So they wouldn't really have any darker colors, cause since in their kingdom that would kind of be seen with rebellion. But I had this like one idea where Sky, she's the middle daughter, she's 15, and she's kind of bitter and closed off from most people because while she is a teenager and so she's not a baby or a child anymore, she often does get overshadowed and overlooked by her older sisters, by the nobles. So that kind of makes her bitter that she's not treated or seen with the same amount of fairness as they are. I mean, her parents treat her fairly, but it's just like it's the other nobles and like the public's view. And I had this one idea where she might want to wear darker colors to try and uh, form her own style aside from her sisters. So that's kind of why I had that as an option. Um, but it looks like white with gold accents one, which I could see, especially kind of since the queen, that's kind of what her color scheme is, and a little bit of Talia's too. And one person uh, suggested for lighter shades of blue, which I I could find a way to add it in some blue, I think. So I'll think about that. Yeah. Next question. Does he have magic? If so, what kind? And since it's the Air Kingdom, imagine their magic to be air or like sky based in general. So like wind or storm, rain, which would kind of tie a little bit in with the water kingdom, but not quite since rain it comes from the clouds. But yeah, just to give you guys a general idea. So the options were no, he does not wield magic and doesn't do any sort of combat slash self-defense, since not everyone in this world has magic. There are some, like a few side characters don't have as strong as magic. And imagine the queen of the Fire Kingdom used to have strong magic, but then she had an accident and her magic kind of got depleted, and so she took more to like uh using weapons to defend herself, since she was also a warrior for a amount of time before she got settled down with the king. And also the third son, or the second son, third child of the Fire Kingdom, he doesn't, Flint, he doesn't have that much magic in him himself, so he's kind of thinking about becoming a soldier when he's older, and he looks up to his sister Hestia, or Tia, who is one of the main characters, as uh, she is a she has magic, but it's not totally strong. But she's like always been more with like sword fighting anyway, and so he kind of looks up to her and her ability with that. So it's kind of explaining. I guess I kind of explained the second option too, but this one, this first option basically saying that he doesn't do any of that. The next one is sort of similar, except he does do combat slash self-defense and build up the army. Since I imagine the Air Kingdom, they're not into they're not into fighting or strength, or like being seen as strong, like physical strength wise. They're more peaceful in a sense, so they wouldn't have a big army. And I feel like with this option, that could be like he doesn't have magic, but he helped. But he does do combat as a self-defense and helped build up the army to where it is now. So that's kind of that. Other options were yes, he wields wind-based magic. Another option was yes, he wields cloud-based magic. And then someone suggested he not only has wind-based magic, but can also main army, which could be an interesting idea. But the winning the winning option here is yes, he wields wind-based magic, which I could see. Other option was yes, he wields cloud-based magic, which I could see that also, since I kind of imagine Sky to work more with cloud-based magic, since she's always kind of hanging out in the clouds with uh, her younger brother Zephyr. So that's kind of why I had that as an option. Is maybe she can inherit it from him, and then the suggested one. Yeah, looks like he'll have wind-based magic. Next question: what does he do as king? The options were he mainly works with being in charge of the kingdom's small army, kind of like what I talked about with the previous question. He mainly works as an important figure in the council's meetings, and then conferences with the other kingdoms. Since for that, I imagine that all of the kingdoms, it's not just that king and queen are ruling. Obviously, they have some sort of a council, a council that helps them make decisions within their kingdom, and then the conferences with other kingdoms. I imagine. I don't know how often. I don't know if it'd be like once a month or like every other month or a different time span. I imagine all the kingdoms would, like the kings and queens, and then the main heirs of the kingdom, and then also like a few of the like council members for each kingdom that all get together and have a conference with each other, just to kind of discuss what's going on in their kingdoms, um, go over anything they need to change between their kingdoms, and just kind of to help further strengthen their alliance with each other. So that's explains that. And then the last option was he does his own thing outside of his kingly duties, meaning that he doesn't really do anything with the army, and then he doesn't do anything with the council meetings or conferences with the other kingdom. He just kind of does his own like personal hobbies and interests. But I feel like with that option, he could have like his own sort of project within the kingdom, which he could still have, even if that didn't win. But if this won, that would be like his main thing that he does outside of his kingly duties, if that makes sense. It looks like the winning was he mainly works as an important figure in the council's meetings and converses with the other kingdoms, which I could see. And then uh, also this one, the working with in charge of the small army too, which I could think of some connection with that. I kind of already started thinking about uh, this idea for the Air Kingdom's introduction chapter of this event called the Sky Games. And I don't know if you guys have seen any of those like movies or read books where it's like there's an event and it's like called the something games, and it's a bunch of games of differing events for like teams to compete and then eventually have a winning thing. Is kind of what I imagine with the Air Kingdom, with their small army. It wouldn't like be the soldiers of the Air Kingdom necessarily, but it's for like the young people to get a chance to like I don't know, exercise their abilities, if that makes sense. And so if this won, I feel like he would have been in charge of that, but since the winning option was he works as an important figure in the council's meetings and conferences with the other kingdoms, that he could still have a part in that, but it wouldn't be big. So I came up with this idea that there's the general of the Air Kingdom is mainly in charge of that. So moving on to the next question, how well is he looked upon by his citizens and the other ruling monarchs? And the options were he is highly respected and looked up to. He is tolerated just fine, no real extra attention. He is often looked upon with indifference or ignored. And the last one was he is disliked by many and not very trusted at all. And the winning option seems to be he is highly respected and looked up to, with the next one being he is tolerated just fine, no real extra attention. Which I could see him being highly respected and looked up to, especially considering kind of the ideas that we were already forming earlier with some of the other things, like him being a part of the important part of the council meetings and conferences for the other kingdoms, that this one could work really well with that. But yeah, I could see it. Next question, how does he interact with others? And so the options were he's generally pretty kind and friendly to those he meets. He is shy around others and prefers to keep to himself and his family. He acts pretty cold and a bit hostile to others, being against the norm of the Air Kingdom citizens being more gentle. He acts, and then the last one was he acts very haughty, arrogant, and self-absorbed with a disdain for others. And so, no one suggested for he is shy around others and prefers to keep to himself and his family, which I could see why. I feel like that would be a bit boring, and not really work with some of the ideas that we were already forming, especially if he's like an important figure in like council meetings and conferences with the other kingdoms. If he was shy, that wouldn't really work with that. And then it looks like the winning result is generally pretty kind and friendly to those he meets, which I could see. That like works with the other ideas we have. And then there's a tie with he acts very cold and a bit hostile, and then he is haughty and arrogant. But that could have been interesting, especially since, like I mentioned, the Air Kingdom citizens, they're not into fighting or like being seen as like strong physically so much, so they're a lot more gentle and uh, calm, I guess, in a way you could say. So that probably wouldn't really work as much. So I could see why it's not the winning one. And then the next one, he's very haughty, arrogant, and self-absorbed with a disdain for others. I put that there's an option because with Talia, she was born with uh, exceptional magic. She works like mainly with making rainbows and stuff like that. And so with that, she's kind of grown a bit of an ego, um and like this is kind of her personality here, but she's not. There's more to her than what than this, but that doesn't get seen much because for most of the story, she this is kind of a spoiler, but she goes missing in action. So she's seen in the beginning, but then after a certain point, she uh she gets captured. Spoiler, but so she's missing, and then at the end, uh, is when you kind of find out what happens to her and how she may have coped with that. So I put that there as like he could have, so that's some connection he has with his oldest daughter. But like I realized some of the other pull options kind of like, I don't know, have him had more of a connection with the middle daughter, the middle child Sky, which I could see, especially since Sky is kind of um, kind of that like moody, kind of better teenager character who feels like everyone doesn't appreciate her as they should, because she's, by some other people, she's still seen as like a child even though she's not. And so I feel like with the options of that kind of like are similar to her with the king here, that he could have some sort of connection with his youngest daughter, Sky, and then so she has like someone that she is kind of close to aside from her younger brother, Zephyr. So I could this one was just to have him like have some sort of connection with Talia, which I could see, but looks like he's gonna be, I don't know, more friendly and kind. So that one. And then the last thing is any other features, suggestions, or ideas to add for his character, either physically, so in terms of his like physical look, personality slash role wise, hobbies, etc. And I only got 2 responses for that. Someone suggested perhaps he could have some time of scepter slash lightning bolt as a weapon, kind of like Zeus, which I could see. I feel like that would be more shown if people chose the option of he is in charge of uh, the army more than the other options, but he could still have this as a weapon, because he would still have to like defend himself, since he's royalty, and I don't know, but also, and that's weird. Uh, because I don't, I'm sorry, this is my first time recording something, so if it kind of sounds, if I sound bad and stuttering throughout this whole thing, I apologize. But with the magic, with everyone's magic, I mean, some people, they prefer using it more than stuff like combat or weapons. Like with the crowned heir and oldest uh, child of the Fire Kingdom, Ignatius, or Nate, as he is more referred to, he has strong magic that he inherited from his mother, and he prefers using that more than combat or weapons. Meanwhile, like Tia, for example, she uses weapons more than magic. So some people prefer using magic more. Some people using weapons and combat more to defend themselves. Some people don't uh, aren't into that. They don't do anything to. The last part of the original video got cut off, but basically what I was saying was that some people, whether they have magic or not, choose to lead more peaceful lives and don't do much of combat or self-defense, and like leave that more for like the soldiers and other strong people. Um, so yeah, but I could still see him having a scepter slash lightning bolt for a weapon. So I'll include that for him. And then the other response was for personality, and it says wise, compassionate, and attentive. And I could see that, especially with the other ideas that we were kind of already forming beforehand. So I'll consider it. But yeah, I don't have much else to say. I would talk more about my novel in this right now, but this is already kind of long, and I'll save that for a later time. But yeah, thanks to the 6 people who responded, and for anyone else who supported my ideas and work. And I would say that this was a fun thing to do. So I might do something like this later in the future if you guys would like that. But yeah, thanks for watching, and talk to you guys all soon. Bye.